Alrighty fam, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about all things Escanor. So I will be doing this on the other ally unit, Meliodas versus the other Meliodases, because this is just a good idea for me to do as a video and content, so I'll be doing it from both. But I kind of have been playing around with Ellie. As you guys know, I've got Alaris Canal recently. I've been playing around with them on and off camera. I've been also like mucking around with him in terms of like using him for other things, like not just PvP, but like, you know, ungeared, and then also like I kind of tried him for the bird, and then, you know, thought about him for, you know, things like the deer and dogs and stuff like that, and kind of just been seeing how he works and kind of how he plays and stuff like that. Now, obviously, I know this is an LR unit from an old, very old, like original unit, right? So, but I wanted to do a comparison of basically this Escanor versus the new Escanor we just got, right? Like the one ultimate Escanor. Now, a few of you might be like, this is not a fair, you know, comparison, or a few of you might think that this is a warranted comparison. I'm not sure, but I kind of like, when you're going to PvP, right, or any of the game modes, whether it's PvP, whether it's Demonic Beast, whether it's boss battles, Demonic Beast, like whatever it is, right, you have to make a choice. Obviously, you only get to pick one Escanor. So whether or not you do this Escanor and you run this team with all humans, or whether you pick, you know, the other Escanor, right, and you run the one ultimate instead. Like you basically always have to make that choice. So it's kind of like, okay, I've had to play around with it for a hot minute now. What do I prefer? What am I picking in, you know, 99 kinds of situations out of 100? Now, you guys might kind of guess where this video is going, and to be honest, I'm kind of just partly going to ramble it. So, but you guys let me know what you think down in the comments, and you guys let me know whether you think I'm being fair or accurate, and we can go from there. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to break down each unit, right? So, first things first, obviously you have LR Holy Knight Escanor Sunshine. So one of the original Escanor units in the game, was really, really strong at the time, is probably one of the most like favorite OG characters that we have in the game. And obviously has some very cool outfits and stuff as well. So Alaris Canal, as you guys probably do or do not know, I'm sure you do, but you need to get 100 legendary seals, you need to have 6 UR pendants, and you need to have 3 of the purple star green books in order to get him from level 100 fully super awakened to LR status, right? Like that's pretty much how you have to get him to this point. When you do get him to LR status, his unique and ultimate changes, right? And then his cards and stuff change as well. So basically what the unique now does is at the end of turn applies 1 eternal flame for 3 turns on all enemies who have not used a skill. And if all allies, including the secondary slot hero humans, it applies 1 additional flame at the start of the turn, right? So basically, the hero's attack-related stats increases by 5% up to 30% for each eternal flame, and then when the ultimate gauge moved is filled, which is the original unique, it's basically you remove all debuffs and buffs and become immune to them, right? So if they have an eternal flame, they increase their damage taken by 15% up to 4 times. Now, as Holy Relic's the same, increases attack by the value of 50% of the hero's defense. Then the cards change slightly. So this used to just be a single target and then a full ult gauge. Now it's also a blast damage, right? So you have increase of 40% per eternal flame, which is a very strong card. And then this one removes buffs on level 1 and applies 2 ignite effects, 3 and then 4. So this was always a remove buffs at level 2, whereas now it's at level 1. So let's talk about the kit. So first off, this is a really useful card, right? Like the removes buff is really, really helpful, and 2 ignites on a level 1 is actually really good. So I really like this card, and this card can do serious damage. And then, oh, I forgot to mention the ultimate. So the ultimate is basically, it ignores 100% of the crit resistance and inflicts damage to 1260%. And then if you've got the Merlin link, it's same thing, crit resistance, but 1440. So in short, like these cards are really solid, like they're good cards, but the problem is this guy takes a while to build up, right? Like he takes a while to be valuable to the team, I think, at least from my experience, right? Like he still hits well and he's still got decent stats, but like he doesn't, he needs the eternal flames. Like this is the big thing, right? And the problem with his passive is it's super restrictive, because even in the secondary slot hero, even in the secondary slot, you need to have a human hero, right? So let's just go to the humans, right? Now, You've got obviously got Escanor, you've got Barn, you've got Brunhild, Roxy, Arthur. Like those are kind of, and then you've got like Slater, Twigo, Easton. Like those are kind of your big main units, right? Obviously all the 7 catastrophes are human units and stuff as well. But like the problem with this being such a restrictive passive is that the other really good human unit is the other Escanor, which we'll get to. And then Barn is really strong, so you can put Barn on the team. But then you don't, like, if you use this Barn, it means you can't use Ragnarok Barn, which is one of the best backline units in the game, right? So you can use Arthur. Arthur's a great unit to have. And then maybe like Roxy, but you start to kind of like, your team selection starts to limit, right? It's basically Barn, Arthur, Escanor. And then there's not really much kind of deviation available from doing that, right? Like you can have East in the back, which I'll do a video on. I've just 100'd her and SA'd her, and she's pretty decent. But again, her passive, right? If you go back to it, only works once you defeat an enemy. So she's pretty much useless until you defeat an enemy. And like you can use Jenna, and I don't have Jenna. All right, where is she? There she is. And her Holy Relic as well increases attack-related stats. I think it's by 12%, and it's a bird relic, so that's a decent one. But you don't really have the same versatility, right? Like, so let's say I take a human, a demon, right? Esterosa is pretty much a guaranteed, right? You have Demon King, you have Purgatory Melee, you have Cusack, Ominous Nebula Zeldris, you have Chandler, you have the other Chandler, like you have a few, like there's obviously the main selections. You can even run Suicide Frowdrin if you want. I feel like there's a little bit more leniency whether you have obviously Lost Vein. You have just a bit more leniency in the demon team, right? Whereas as soon as you go to the human team, I just feel like they're slightly lackluster. And I know demons and goddesses and stuff are kind of the favorites, and unknowns are the favorites, but it's very, very limiting. And this is also a problem, like, let alone in PvP, right? Like, let's say you're going into PvP and you're trying to run a comp team. You pull all these together, and this is, say, your team. As soon as you change this, like, for backline unit, maybe I swap it out for Easton. But there's just... This unit takes too long to build up in terms of the Eternal Flames, and you don't... Unless you run an Arthur in the front with a taunt, don't really have a lot of survivability, especially against these super heavy hitting teams like the Demon team, right? As soon as Demon King is ready to go, you're screwed, you're dead. Or as soon as Purgatory Melee has true magic and he can target Escanor, Escanor's dead, right? Or as soon as he's encroached, like there's just so many things that you just die so quickly with the human team. And the thing with, again, say the Demon team, and you run Purgatory Melee and you run Demon King, is you have the Demon King suppression, damage suppression, you have the Shackles of Purgatory from melee, you become very, very tanky, and then also you can decrease a whole bunch of stuff from them, right? Decrease crit chance by 20% and crit damage by 30% on all enemies, right? For each demon ally in battle. So that's a really good backline unit. Or you run Ominous Nebula Zeldris, or you run, you know, if you're running a debuff team, you can run Assault Melee and you can run Festival Zeldris. Like, the demon team has a really good way of being really tanky, as well as being very high damage when it needs to be. Again, same thing if you're going to go to like the Unknown team, right, or the Ragnarok team. You have damage cap with Ragnarok Diane, wherever she is. Let's just do characteristics. And Ragnarok, like this is one of my favorite teams, right? With Diane and a Holy Relic, you have damage cap of 50%. Demon King has damage cap of 50%, right? Which I learned the hard way in a couple of my videos and my streams, right, with Escanors. So as soon, and these, like in tier, right, we have tier now. Tier hits so hard. So to have the kind of the Escanor that relies so heavily on humans for everything, right? Like you can't run them on bird, you can't run them on deer. They're kind of older content now anyway. You could maybe run them on dogs, but then you have Thonar, and then you have to run a whole bunch. Like, you're so restricted by humans, and there's not that many great humans at the moment. You know, there's Transcendent Barn and the Alaris Canal, and that's kind of it. Like, you know, you go to goddesses, right? And you have Tarmiel, who heals himself back. You've got a Sliz, who's not that great, right? You have Ludo, of course, who's been absolutely, like, key in most units, most content of the game for ages. You have Sariel, who sets up a counter. You have Mael. Like, this is such a stat-boosting lineup of goddesses that your stats become so high that you can't even be one-shot, really. Or you can. Like, I'm over-exaggerating here, but you know what I mean, right? Like, they just build up their stats, whereas, again, you come to humans, and it's like, okay, you have... I don't even know where he is. Where's my Arthur? This Arthur. Which increases max HP and increases the damage dealt. That's awesome. Or you're on this Arthur. Right, and again, you increase max HP, which is really nice. And, you know, the debuff effects and stuff are removed, and you apply crit defense. But, like, this 5% crit defense, like, the only probably good Arthur that I really like is, you know, PvP only, PvE only, right? It doesn't work in PvP. And doesn't work in deathmatch. So, and it has to be in the battle, and everyone has to be alive. So that's an increase of 35% damage and a decrease of 35% damage, right? So that's kind of solid. But again, no damage caps like Demon King or like the Unknown Team. So I think you guys kind of get where I'm coming from. Like, he can hit really hard. And this can do a heck of a lot of damage, plus 40% damage, right? So say he's got 3, that's an extra 120% damage. And the multiplier is really strong. And then he fills ult gauge. But it just, to me, it's not enough, right? Whereas, and this is a great ultimate. Well, this is a good ultimate, right? But it's a single target. And it's pretty much a guaranteed kill, which is perfect. But these are all single target attacks, which is fine. And they take a while to build up. And you need a human team around you that's like super restrictive. You know, so yes, he's awesome to have. And yes, I'm glad I've got him. And he's a fun unit to play around with. But if you kind of gave me the option of running a human team with Alaris Canal, or you said, hey, do you want to run demons? Or hey, do you want to run unknown? Or even do you want to run goddesses? I'm picking any of those other teams over the human team every single time. And look, do I win? You know, I think the Alaris Canal video I did, I won 4 out of 5 matches, which is great. But then also on stream, I think I lost 4 out of 5 matches, right? So I just feel like the demon team, the goddess team and stuff is so much more consistent. And look, if you pair him with Roxy's passive, you can sometimes bypass those damage caps, which is really nice. But again, it's only if you crit, and I'm critting with Roxy, and I'm critting with, you know, Transcendent Barn because of his, you know, like 1-2 combo wherever he is. There he is. Right, the whole Blitz debuff and then followed by Tornado Blast, like that's the 1-hit combo, the 2-hit combo, which gives you the crits, and you always do the damage cap. But the amount of crits I've missed with Escanor, as even with Merlin Link, right, has not been fantastic. And look, his crit chance is 129%, which is pretty decent, I guess. Like, it's not bad. And it just, I don't know, it just feels lackluster, right? Whereas even if I'm putting the same team, right, in with the other Escanor. Where is he? And we'll start talking about this Escanor instead, but like, I just feel like even this is a better choice. And I'll kind of explain why. I mean, I hope you guys are probably at the point now where you understand like what my thought process is and who I think is better. But we'll go through Escanor, right? So his first card is obviously Scorch Damage. It's basically the Death Finger, as you guys are all aware of, right? So 200%, and then you get additional 1.3% damage for every percentage of remaining HP on self, and then you also get an extra 30% of the final damage to all enemies, right? So death damage, and then it's a very basic 200, 300, 500% multiplier, and then Crazy Prominence, which is the AoE, right? And basically every bit of health that you're missing, you do extra damage, and you also do additional damage equal to 35% of your crit damage as well. So it's kind of like a cleave card. And then you have Ultimate, which is basically AoE, right? It's basically every bit you just do additional damage, whether or not you have more percentage or less percentage of health, it doesn't matter. You just do a massive amount of damage. And then if you die, depending on your ult level, your hero becomes fixed at 1, as you guys know, and then you have the little flames, the final flames that go above the head, depending on how big your ult is. So 1, 2, 3, or 4 final flames. Now, and then his passive is basically Holy Flame. This guy is just a pure damage dealer, right? Like, he's just there to do an insane amount of damage. He also doesn't lose any of his stats below their values at the start of the battle, so he can't be stat lowered. And when taking fatal damage, the hero's attack-related stats increase by 30%, right? So this guy is just a damage monster. Now, look, is it necessarily fair comparing the two, the allow of an old unit versus a festival unit that's newly released? You guys can tell me if I'm being harsh in the comments, but what the purpose of this video is to be like, okay, if I have a choice between these two, who am I picking? And again, let's go through it, right? Like, you're going to bypass damage caps with the finger, right? Because also I think, might be proven wrong, you have a high crit chance with this Escanor than you do with the other Escanor, right? And more crit damage. So you bypass damage caps here. You have an AoE skill, which, to be fair, no removed buffs. So that is something that the other Alaris Canal definitely has over this Escanor. But it only kind of has come into play maybe on the bird, when the bird has like their buffs up and the evade up. Or maybe if you're attacking like a tier and stuff, or like a Demon King with their buffs and you want to get rid of it. But even then, like, would I rather have the buff removal and then the Escanor? Or would I rather have the extra death damage, right? Because like, this is the thing, that death damage then also works with Roxy's death damage. So you do double death. That's why a lot of us run that Roxy and the one ultimate Escanor on the farming teams for like birds and stuff, right? Because the additional damage just bypasses so many damage caps. And again, when it comes to the likes of Tier or Demon King or Ragnarok Diane or anything like that, when they have damage caps, that's just going to be a straight up better skill than this, right? Top of that, there's no need for any other human units. No need for any other units. You can put this Escanor with any units you like, right? It can be demons, it can be giants, it can be sins, it can be humans, it can be, like, it doesn't matter. Escanor will do his own thing and just do the damage regardless of, you know, who he's attacking and who he's got with him. His ultimate is an AoE, right? If I get ultimate with Alaris Canal, I one-shot one person for sure. Generally, 9 times out of 10, if I get Escanor's ultimate and mine's only 3/6, I'll kill everyone, right? I'll wipe the entire team. I'll do damage cap on the bird or whatever it is, right? So, look, if I'm starting this game, you know, or I'm figuring out who to LR, or I don't want to waste resources, maybe I can level 100 someone else, whatever it is. I mean, and this is probably not a surprise coming, but I'm going to pick the one ultimate pretty much every single time, guys. Like, do I enjoy using LR? Yes, 100%. He's a lot of fun, and it's cool to have him. And do I love the outfit? Yes, it's awesome. And then, you know, I'll put his cosmetic on, is kind of cool. I'm such a fan for the suave hair, but that is cool, right? Like, it is a cool looking unit. And, oh, right. Never seen that arrow before. And he looks good, and he's got cool cards, and I'm glad they buffed him, because he did need some love. And is he really good for like things like Belmoth? 100%. Is he better than the one ultimate Escanor? Again, like, I don't know. Like, the thing is with LR, you can use him with, you know, Green Liz for deathmatch, and you get the rank ups and stuff. So that's definitely helpful. But then again, you use Green Liz, right? Like, let's say I'm here. Where is she? And I'm going, you know what? I need a deathmatch team. Let me pull out my Green Liz, who's going to rank up everyone that's green or HP units. And I go, yes, perfect. Okay, let's pull, you know, Escanor, and then let's pull maybe Brunhild, or let's pull Jenna, or let's pull Gotha, or whatever it is, right? Again, this only works with humans. And Liz is an unknown, unless I've completely made a fool of myself. Now I've got myself second guessing. No, a goddess. She's a goddess, not unknown. So, like, I can't use her. Or I can, but I'm not going to get the flame, right? Because the flame only works if you have all humans, or if they don't use a skill. So in Belmoth, they're going to use a skill. So, like, it's just super restrictive as a unit. And I suppose the one good thing we do have is he does work with Jenna, because Jenna is a human, which I always thought was interesting, because she's a druid, but she is a human, right? So, yes, he's cool. Yes, he's a lot of fun to use. If I had to choose, would I pick this Escanor pretty much every single time? You bet. There's not really a situation I can think of where I'm picking Alaris Canal over this Escanor in terms of damage output, ability to use straight away. Like, sure, maybe if you let Alaris Canal cook and you've waited 4, 5, 6, 7 turns and they have a massive stack of, you know, Eternal Flames, right? It only stacks up to 4 times anyway. So you get 4 turns and they have all the Eternal Flame stacks. yes, you can pop off, but have I maybe already killed them if I'm using this Escanor? And again, right, like if I'm using this team, oh, it's reset me. If I'm using the human team and I'm running Roxy in the front to get the extra death damage with Escanor, I'm now running double death damage. So this is going to get death damage, this is going to get death damage plus Roxy death damage. I'm still going to get the bonuses from Arthur. So yeah, I mean, I think that's probably all I wanted to say on the topic. Like, I think it's pretty obvious what you guys, well, hopefully you guys can tell which way I'm leaning and which way I'm thinking. Like, I've had a lot of fun with new Alaris Canal, and I think he's really cool. But unfortunately, I just don't think I don't know if the buffs were enough, to be honest. Well, not the buffs, but I don't know if the LR transformation was enough. I think if this was less restrictive, I think he'd be much more viable. Like if they included sins as well, right? Or, you know, humans and, you know, Merlin, just for his, you know, his thing with Merlin that he's got, or humans and you know, unknowns, or whatever it is, right? Even just, I think the easiest fix would be humans and sins. Like if you said run him with sins and then I could suddenly pull Deanne in, or I could pull Lost Vein, or whatever it is. To be fair, the reason they probably did it was because if they did Lost Vein, Escanor, and then Deanne, that was probably super overkill. So I kind of maybe get that, but just being humans only just makes them way too restrictive for any sort of use. And, you know, if I'm running anything, again, that's not all the way humans, and humans don't have a very good backline unit, then I'm picking the one ultimate. So, yeah, you guys let me know what you think down in the comments below, whether you think this was just a rant and I don't know how to use Alaris Canal properly or what. But to me, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer, and I'm also probably going to do a video soon on who to LR first, Melee or Escanor. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys all in the next one. Thanks for watching.